High five.
High five.
High five. High five. High five. High five.
You're really good at this.
Yeah, I have no idea what's happening.
Well. Welcome back into the What Podcast. Barry Corder, the Boy Scout Barry Corder.
Oh,
Russ
you're
Jackson,
killing
Lord
me.
Taco. Brad.
How's Tord? How's Tord and
Tord Laco.
Shred?
Tord Laco is back.
George's back. Barry, if you're the Boy Scout, you need to pick up these
Stop.
cans.
You guys are killing me. Stop.
The Boy Scout, Tord Laco, Brad Steiner here. Jumping back in for a minute before we play a really special moment, a high five this week, as we get closer and closer to Bonnaroo. So this week, Barry, we're going to jump back into where it all started. Because last week was such an odd, show, let's show you what it was supposed to be and how it was originally designed.
How far off the rails?
From episode 1.
I thought it'd be a good idea to show just how far off the rails we've gone.
Yeah, just how far off in the last 5 years we have just completely derailed this entire product. We've got a couple of pieces of news. We'll get to the high five clip here in a second. Let's start with some news that you guys don't know yet. But actually, Barry does know this, but Tord Laco does not know this. We are this close. We got a yes, but we are this close, Lord, to booking the biggest guest we have ever gotten on this show. It has been our white whale for 4 years. And Barry, you saw the email come through yesterday that it is an absolute go. We just got to work on the timing in the next couple of weeks. The biggest guest the What Podcast has ever gotten.
And what was my response? Be
You
still
didn't respond.
my beating heart. Be still my beating heart.
Barry actually died a little bit when he heard
I
it.
did die. Yeah, I'm gonna go Chris Farley. There's no question in my mind. I won't be able to speak. Yeah.
Well,
I'm pretty
Taco,
darn
if
excited.
if he died, we might as well call the Boy Scouts to come pick him up.
Yeah.
Oh my
They'll
god.
send a giant can. Call them off in.
Lay me in a can on a hill somewhere.
This is the last Boy Scout.
I'm very excited.
Yes, Barry Corder, the last Boy Scout. Yes.
I'm so sorry to everyone who listens to this show.
So we got that bit of news, some personal stuff. Very excited about that. I did want
Very
to
excited.
start with. I wanted to start with something that came through the Manchester Times this week, and I don't know, Barry, if you saw this, but it was actually kind of a concerning article. But you're the person that can clarify from the Bonnaroo side of this, and if you don't mind, I request that you reach out to at least anybody there that can get us some background. But the headline read this week. County, this is from the Manchester Times. The Manchester Times, of course, the paper of record in Manchester, Tennessee. County will not provide standing ambulances for Bonnaroo. Coffee County Ambulance Authority unanimously decided at the April 20th meeting to not enter into a contract with the organization that provides medical services to Bonnaroo to provide ambulances and crews needed for the festival to comply with state law. The quote is, "Our first obligation is with the citizens of Coffee County." In a statement to the board, he goes on, according to the state's mass gathering law, says, "A holding or assembly shall provide one licensed emergency vehicle stationed at the assembly site per 50,000 attendees." One ambulance for 50,000 people. Okay.
Wow.
My concern is the chief guy in all of this, the ambulance authority guy. My concern is we are contractually obligated, and he could sue us if we do not keep an ambulance out there. That's according to Bonner. Actually, I don't know who Bonner is. Oh, that's the EMF chief. Okay, EMS chief Michael Bonner said, "My concern is we are contractually obligated and could sue us." I don't know who he's talking about. But anyway, if we could adequately staff for the citizens of Coffee County, I have no problem putting an ambulance out there at Bonnaroo. This is not a financial decision. This is because of staffing. Even if they offered pay, we'd still have trouble with staffing. All right, so when I first read this, Barry, I had two thoughts. Of course, the first one is this seems perilous.
Right.
But also, there was a part of me that's like, the county of Manchester has been playing hardball with Bonnaroo for the better part of 16, 20 months, trying to get some tax money back from some of the hotel taxes that Bonnaroo, because Bonnaroo didn't happen during the COVID year. I keep wondering every time that there's some sort of city government and Bonnaroo story, I wonder if this is like some sort of hardball that they're playing. I find it hard to believe that out of nowhere they have a staffing issue randomly for the first time. I don't know, ever. Has this happened before? And even if they're willing to pay, they just don't have human beings that can drive ambulances. What do they do on a normal day? What do they do on a normal weekend? Thirdly, what does Bonnaroo do?
Wow. I have not seen this. Let me start there. But yeah, your first instinct was mine, that this is a saber rattling type of thing.
Thank you.
But
That's what I
then
was trying to say.
Yeah, the last thing you said was it's a staffing, which may be legit. I mean, you can't just find EMTs if, it's not like we go
couldn't
next door and knock on the
somebody-
door.
Why not? Couldn't somebody from the county over maybe that's wants to make some overtime?
That's my fourth
volunteer.
thought. But back to what you were saying, the city of Manchester and the county of Coffee have been going at it for the last couple of years over taxes. It was, Bonnaroo was in the county, and then the city annexed it, 2.5 years ago during the pandemic. And so there was a lot of lost revenue. That was supposed to be the how it was supposed to work. They were supposed to get a percentage, and I don't remember the number, based on the previous year's number, and the previous year was zero because it didn't happen. So I know they're having, they're back and forth. One ambulance per 50 sounds a little, yeah, like you said, Russ, that was my thought. Go to Nashville, go to Chattanooga. Somebody will go up.
EMTs all over that would.
Somebody will go
volunteer
up
to
there for
sign
a
up.
couple $100 an hour or whatever.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. That's interesting. Having said that, I don't know the details, so I need to definitely. That'll be a question.
Yeah, I mean,
I'll
it's
look at this week.
it's going to be a big background question that you asked. So I'm going to read further through this article a little bit. Two important details are stressed at the meeting. Bonnaroo maintains fully equipped medical tents to provide on-site care of event staff and guests. The county will respond to 911 calls placed from Bonnaroo organizers. The festival contract does not ask Coffee County EMS to go onto the grounds, nor does its employees provide on-site treatment, unless there were a major event involving mass casualties, etc. This is what they continue to say. At Bonnaroo, this is a quote, "At Bonnaroo, there should be 2 physicians working there. Their tents are designed to be acting as an ER. It's not going to be a situation where there's not going to be a medical care. It's not going to be a situation when there's not going to be medical care at Bonnaroo. Medical care will be there. Bonnaroo has full advanced life support capabilities. They just do not have the staff to run multiple ambulances should they need them." Seems strange. Seems odd. This is the first time in 17 years they have run into this problem. The article continues.
Yeah. I like I said, I need to look into it more. It's interesting that it's such a story, but I don't know.
but back to the point that our original gut was, if you scroll later down in this article, they just end up talking about the strained relationship between the county and Bonnaroo, which talks exactly about that tax issue that you mentioned. This is a really good article that I like this Manchester Times guy. He's really, really
he's
good.
great.
If only we could get a newspaper writer, Taco, a part of the What podcast, we might actually be able to get somewhere here.
I don't know. I'll look around. I don't know.
I'll see if he's
John
available.
Coughlin. John Coughlin, I think he's been around for a while, hasn't he?
I think it's the same guy. If so, he's been very good. And he and I have communicated with emails. He sent me notes, when I've got something not wrong, but something I didn't know about. He's reached out if it is in fact the same guy. But
let's link this. let's link this article to the show, just in case you want to read further about that.
Yeah.
But Barry,
We'll put it in the
Barry
show
clarifying that would be very helpful.
sure.
The other piece of news that we got this week was the SuperJam. Now, if you remember, a few months ago, we had the organizers on who basically said, they straight out said, the artist that's going to be hosting the SuperJam was not on the lineup currently, and that that came true this week. We got the news from Cory. Cory Wong is going to be the SuperJam, I guess, officiator. And, you're not talking to a Cory expert here. I will be totally honest with you. I've heard the name. I'm certainly familiar enough with him that he just seems to have his hands in a lot of different places, which means he's, got a lot of friends and can bring a vast amount of sound to a SuperJam stage, which is exactly what you want. You could go from rockabilly to, some punk metal with this guy, it seems like. So it could be go bluegrass, sure. It could be a really, really fun SuperJam, a sneaky SuperJam, something that you weren't really expecting to be the star of the night, but it feels like it's got a little bit of, I don't know, for the first time, it's got a little bit of energy, mainly because it's so unknown. I don't really know what to expect. We kind of we figured out what Jack Antonoff is going to bring with his show last year, because they basically told us. This feels a little mysterious and kind of fun.
Yeah, I'm with you. I've heard the name, didn't know a lot, but when you look it up, it's like, oh, this makes perfect sense. He's done projects with Wolfpack.
Damn near everybody on the lineup.
Yeah, Chris Thiele, Billy Strings. Pretty all over the place. So that's what you want from a SuperJam, or what I want anyway.
Yeah, the only Wong I'm familiar with was BD.
Okay, boy. Go ahead, Brad. Oh my goodness.
It's not BD Wong. It's Cory Wong.
No, it's not.
You can only have one, because two Wongs don't make a right.
Oh. Okay, he's played with Larry Carlton, who I love, Victor Wooten, Bela Fleck, Chromeo.
I guess I'll go.
I guess I'll go now. Yes.
Yeah.
And scene.
Your job here is done. And scene, exactly. No, I think it's a good pick. Was it what I expected? No, but I didn't know.
Not what I expected at all. No, that's true.
But I think it's a good one. So we'll see. We'll see what happens.
So,
go ahead.
The problem with the SuperJam every year is I don't think I've been to a SuperJam that really even got me maybe in 10 years. Have I been to a SuperJam that I've really, really loved? Which one did I like?
Billy Idol. The one with Billy Idol, and Brittany was there singing.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that was 2016. It's been a long time.
Oh, well, that's less than 10. But you liked it,
but
that's
I liked
really,
it, yeah.
I agree with you. That was a big one.
I liked it.
Billy
I like the look. I think
across-
the SuperJam is the bread and butter of Bonnaroo, and I just kind of wish that it always had a little bit more oomph. But then again, I can't really say that with too much authority, because I always end up skipping it. I can't really talk about how much I like or dislike the SuperJam. I'm sure it's great. I just don't always. I always end up finding something else to do, which
what's weird
sort of
about
bums me
it?
out.
We've said this before. The idea is what was so appealing for the first 10 years, where you never knew who might show up on stage with who.
Yeah.
And then the SuperJam was like a bigger version of that. And in some ways, has it become too not predictable?
Predictable? Yeah, I was going to say
Predictable in its unpredictableness or whatever, it's sort of replaced this idea of, as we've talked about with the Foo Fighters, and who knows who's going to show up on stage with them. Kind of ended with the Police, if I remember right. We all thought that the Police set was going to be such a SuperJam, if you will. And I remember talking to Stuart Copeland, and he was like, yeah, this is what we need to do. And Sting wouldn't do it. He wouldn't change a note. And so
I don't think I knew that story.
Yeah. Stuart Copeland was coming to Chattanooga, and he had just done the.
But hang a second. Just to give a little background, the Police did a reunion show, a few reunion shows that year. One of them happened to be at Bonnaroo,
Right.
And for anybody that wasn't there, it was one of the lamest shows that you will have ever seen at Bonnaroo. It had no energy. It had no juice. These guys had they weren't even looking at each other on stage.
Right.
It was one of the moments where you're like, that was a big swing and miss.
Check off my box, but that was it.
That's
but
right.
Stuart Copeland had been there, the year before or the year before with who? I can't remember. I'm sorry, I'm blanking, but he'd been there as part of a it was there as the Oysterhead. Exactly. Thank you. It just came to me. Yeah, which was an amazing set. So the thought leading up to the Police thing was that, it's going to be this Police jam, this amazing set. And Stewart was here in Chattanooga, or maybe it was part of the Bonnaroo. Maybe he was part of one of those things where he did a lot of media. And he just straight up told me, because I asked, he's like, Sting wouldn't budge a minute. He wouldn't budge a note. And so, like, to your point, Brad, it was the Police. It was great. If you're a Police fan, it was note for note what you wanted to hear, but it wasn't what we wanted.
I see the reason I stop here, because I don't think I've ever heard that story. You're telling me that they wanted to do, Stewart wanted to do a Super Jam-ish, or at least bring other guests onto the stage.
Yeah,
and Sting
or at
wouldn't
least,
have anything.
explore the songs. Let the songs go where they wanted to go, kind of thing. And Sting wasn't having it. And I can't remember his exact quote, but it was something like, you're not going to change Sting's mind, or, he's precious and he's going to do what he wants to do, kind of thing. So,
is this an article that you wrote for the paper?
Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah. Fascinating. Huh.
Yeah.
I did not know that. But to that point, watching back, especially the Gorillaz set from the second weekend of Coachella, where, Damon Albarn looks like he's having the most fun he's ever had in his career. He's got Bad Bunny showing up. I'm surprised Rick Astley didn't show up on stage at some point. It seemed like he had everyone at the festival coming by and playing with him. I think I'm more into that these days, being at someone's set and having them bring out, random people, instead of being at a big Super Jam and knowing somebody's going to come out. I don't know. It's hard to explain. I think I'm kind of over it.
I think we're saying the same thing, and I didn't know till I just said it, but that was sort of that Police thing was kind of the end of it for me. Because they haven't done that. We have said on here before where, it feels like the sets are getting shorter and shorter, and they don't do the jams and they don't do the surprise, not like they used to. And I don't know if it's because the industry has changed or what, but I don't disagree with you. That, whatever it was, 2016 set with Billy Idol and all that was my favorite Super Jam. The other ones have been like, okay.
Wasn't it more late night too? Wasn't that the Super Jam was always?
Oh,
later?
always.
It seemed like last year it was
always,
early
midnight early. You mean, yes. Before it was late night. It was wander over and kind of wander over and see who shows up on the back porch type of thing. That was the whole thing, and now it's become a little bit formulaic, maybe.
Yeah. Well, also, let's be honest.
We're talking out of both sides here a little bit.
Yeah, I know. But also, to be honest, it's hard to do. It's really, really hard to do.
Right.
You can't just ask random, artists who are pretty into their own methods. Like, oh, come on up, just play a few notes. That doesn't really happen like that anymore.
No, that's right. I mean, that one we're talking about and it was such a personal thing for me because Billy Idol's show was great. Britney you're a huge fan, as we all know. Larry Graham was on that stage. Larry Graham basically invented the slap bass, so it was not only great music, it was getting to see heroes. And that's hard. So yeah, I think you're right. It is hard. And I think that's, Cory seems to be a good pick for that reason, because he's done this. This is what he does. He's used to putting these sort of things together. So,
and then, but I think that you asked the $1,000 question: will it move a ticket? I don't think it will, but we got news this week to back up Barry's point from a few weeks ago that tickets are this close to being sold out. We are getting closer and closer to the magical day where Bonnaroo's back into the sellout range, which is not where I expected us to be last year.
Which I was thinking about going back to what you said at the beginning of the show. Kind of fixes the city-county thing, doesn't it? When the money's there, everybody's quiet. So we'll see
Barry, it doesn't matter if the money's there. If you still owe me money, you still owe me money.
Well, but if you pay me, I'll be quiet and go away.
For now.
For now, that's right.
Speaking of Barry, before we get into this high five, I want to just prepare you, because now that we're getting closer and closer to Bonnaroo, it's pick season. Next week, we begin the process of revealing our 2023 Bonnaroo picks. We start with the Mr. Barry Quarter, so if you have any suggestions for The Last Boy Scout, hit him up at @thewhat_podcast on Twitter, or what's your Twitter handle? At Last Boy Scout?
Barry JC.
Barry JC. Let's give him some suggestions, because Dad has a...
I have one.
He's traveling down the same lane most of the time. So.
No, I have one that's going to shock you.
Is it?
I'm excited.
Let's have a moment of silence for Barry's blue check mark, too.
Did it go
R.I.P. Man, I had just gotten verified on Twitter, too.
Nerd.
I had just gotten there.
Now nobody will ever know.
Now you'll never know.
Yeah.
By the way, so Barry picks next week, starting our yearly tradition of our picks
I have one in particular I'm very excited about. But yeah, I can't wait.
Good.
Yeah.
I can't wait to hear it if it's going to be out there. Very excited. All right, you want to jump into this week's High Five, where it all started, the very first episode of the What Podcast, which I'm going to guess, Taco, our least listened to episode of the What Podcast ever.
Actually, it did pretty well.
Excluding last week's, maybe, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I just thought, after last week, like I said, went so far off the rails, we might go back to the beginning. And this is literally the very beginning.
The very beginning, yeah.
And just to set this thing up, we've said it before, but we're hoping that there's some new people listening. Brad and I we had lunch pretty regularly, at least 2 or 3 times a month, right?
It was once a week, Barry. We had a stand-in.
It was once a week, and we noticed that we were always talking about Bonnaroo year-round. And I think I said we should, at this upcoming one, we should do a Facebook Live, is what I said. And you went, I got it. And within, I don't know, Taco, you tell me, because you and I had not met at this point, but within days.
Not really. It was pretty quick. I remember, I went out with Brad and we ate crawfish, or he ate crawfish. And he said something like, we want to get this domain and website up and running. And within a day or two, it was like, all right, I got it.
Oh,
this is one of Barry's picks.
Ice cream man?
I know, my doorbell.
Picks.
I just had to, my doorbell is ringing. Sorry. I was like, what is that? Yeah, within days. I mean, days. We had the website domain.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. You had it built. I was within a week, and Brad obviously is a radio guy. Within a week, I was at the studio, and we were doing this show. No more than 2 weeks. And first of all, I want to, Brad knows what he was doing. He knows what he is doing. So it came out, I think, it came out great. It was surprising in that. But it's also surprising how close I think we were to what we wanted to do. And you'll hear that. I love the intro. I've always loved that intro. I love the new one with the repeat, but I love that intro. And it's just fun to go back. It was actually 2018, so we're in season 6, believe it or not. Mm-hmm. So anyway, it's 5 minutes. The first episode
season
that we did.
Season 6, and we've only been to 2 Bonnaroos since then. Together. Isn't that crazy?
I know. Yeah, Russ is not in this episode because
That's the worst part about this one.
That's why it sucks, and that's why we don't talk about it very much. But
yeah, it was before times. He was in the before times.
It was Yeah. It was
Well,
before.
no, it's weird because I don't even know how I ended up on the show. I wasn't supposed to be a part of this. It was not on camera, not with you guys.
But I loved about the early Taco days when Taco started showing up at first. You were just sort of like that guy at the Tom Green show who just sat behind Tom with holding coffee.
Yes, I love that. Yeah, just
I love that
laughing.
guy. Just laughing.
Who was the guest that? Who was the guest that at the end of an hour and you had not said a word said, "Russ, that's the best show you've ever done." Do you remember who it was? I don't remember who it was.
I remember the show. I don't remember who it was.
You didn't say a word. He was like,
Well, I'm not supposed to. I'm not the one that's supposed to be interviewing people. What am I gonna have?
Nailed it, buddy. Nailed it.
yeah.
Nailed it.
You were there
All right.
last week and it was funny.
It was great. He'll be there next week.
right.
Let's get into this week's high five and the next week Barry's picks. All right, on the What Podcast.
Journey through the stories that define the artists playing Bonnaroo. Who are they? What are they? What will you see? The what? Which bands this year that matter?
Yay.
With Brad Steiner and Barry Corder.
Don't I make it look easy? Don't I make it look good? Something we specialize in.
Just don't drink all my liquor.
Okay. Anderson .Paak, more specifically Brandon Paak Anderson. Did you know that's not even his name, Anderson .Paak? Brandon Paak Anderson. That's like if I called myself Steinbratter.
Is it Pack or Park?
Well, it was originally Park.
I
That's
think
right.
It's actually Park.
Yes.
In there. Yeah.
This is the What Podcast, the What. Hyper-focusing on the bands that matter, more precisely, which bands that matter this year, which bands this year that matter, something like that.
This, that, and the other.
Yeah.
This, that. I love we're starting with Anderson .Paak.
Really?
That's
Do
a
you?
great, I really do.
That's a surprise to me. I
Well-
didn't think that would be up your alley.
No, well, it wasn't, to be honest, but I think this year for me, especially, the lineup is about discovery and a little bit of trust. That we've gone, you and I, almost 30 times each?
Yeah, I
thereabouts,
guess.
combined.
Oh, my God.
Yeah.
Oh, my God. Yeah.
Combined. And so there is a little bit of trust in the guys that put it together, and Anderson is not somebody that it was very familiar to me a couple weeks
Really?
ago. Now I like it quite
Now
a bit.
you like it a lot.
Yeah,
Now-
I'm looking forward to seeing the live show.
This is a podcast by Bonnaroovians for Bonnaroovians. We want to take a deep dive into the artists that are playing Bonnaroo. We want to do each and every week go through a specific artist catalog, go through their bio, maybe introduce you to a new band. Maybe you could even introduce us to a new band, and you could do that at thewhatpodcast.com. We hope to catch some of that magic that these artists will bring to the farm, bottle it, and then expose it to you each week with a spotlight on the artists that will hopefully make 2018 special. And you talk about that trust that you have in the Bonnaroo people, whether or not the lineup is for you or not for you, there's something probably you're going to discover. And it's really odd to me that you just now discovered Anderson .Paak, especially with all the 2 Grammy Awards last year.
Yeah, well, to be honest, I've relied on maybe my kids or some other people, and they're all gone.
They're still with us, though.
Well, they're
Okay,
they're
good.
out of the house.
Thank goodness.
So yeah, I mean, there's so much music out there. I can't keep up with all of it, and I don't pretend that I do. I have learned over the many years of going to Bonnaroo, you're there. You really don't have much else to do.
You don't have anything else to do.
You might as well go discover a new great act.
Sure. That for those just joining us who don't know who we are, that's Barry Corder. He writes for the Times Free Press and has for since the inception
Pretty
of
much. The
newspapers.
printed-
From the beginning of newspapers, you were there.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
It's the first one rolled off with a ink press.
I'm Brad Steiner. I do a radio show on a top 40 station in Chattanooga, but our passion, no matter if Barry's writing about a recipe or if I'm playing Beyonce, our passion is independent alternative music, and nobody showcases it better than the foremost festival, and that's Bonnaroo. So not only do we appreciate you, but we appreciate the Bonnaroo people for being so supportive in this, and because they're so supportive in this, they're giving us a pair of tickets to give away to a podcast listener. This, our inaugural version of the What Podcast. Somebody that listens to this podcast is going to win Bonnaroo tickets. I'll tell you how to do that coming up a little bit later on the podcast. But Anderson .Paak, to me, I love him so much because everything that he writes, everything that he performs, the way that he performs it, it all starts with that bio of his. And that bio of his is not only inspiring, but it's heartbreaking.
No question. And the other...
Consequence Podcast Network.